Okay. Can you see me, Kent?
You're rolling, you see a red line around it? Okay,
Speed
good.
on me.
Okay.
All right.
Interview, Jim Mulligan, take one.
So if you would, sir, please read from the,
Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter, golden wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung, high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my aided craft through the footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mine I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
beautiful. And if you could read the other page, there's an excerpt from the poem Dishes.
It's an excerpt, all right. That's just that's the last 4 lines. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll, for I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Beautiful, Jim.
I know those poems.
I assumed you did, sir.
You will notice that I changed from silvered wings to golden wings.
Beautiful. I like that. I've highlighted a section of your book.
Okay? I'll have to put my glasses on.
Okay, do you want to put your glasses on?
You know, I will not be able to read it without the glasses, unfortunately. That's the result of my recent split vision and everything. Screws everything up on me. Okay?
Yes, if you could read it aloud, sir.
In one way, I had been a loser for all those days. Yet in another way, I had much to be thankful for. For out of the miseries had come strength, out of the suffering, compassion, out of hate, love. If nothing else, I would come home a better man than when I entered there. Life would be more meaningful in every aspect from now on. Freedom, integrity, moral character had new and stronger meanings for me. I knew that I could face the future with faith and hope. I had learned firsthand that in life's darkest hours in Hanoi, God's grace had shone down upon me. In my heart, I knew that during my captivity I had lost all the battles, but had won the war.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm going to have to stop you for a moment. We just had someone driving by. At what point did?
Do you want us to start all over again?
I think if you start that second page over again. All right, so is that, yeah, are you going to let Mitch know? Okay.
I had learned firsthand that in life's darkest hours in Hanoi, God's grace had shone down upon me. In my heart, I knew that during my captivity I had lost all the battles, but had won the war because I had done my best. I had paid the price. I had day by day put myself on the line for what I believed in. Alone and in solitary, when no one knew and no one cared, I and the others had fought the good fight. If nothing else, I cared and they cared. There was no easy way. When the chips were down, we did what we had to, and we paid the price with physical and mental pain. Now that it was over, we could go home with heads held high. We would walk erect as free men, taking our rightful place in a free world. The man who appreciates freedom the most is the free man who has become a slave. We were leaving Hanoi, slaves no more. Would you like me to do that over?
No, I don't think you could have done that more perfectly, sir.
All right, thank you.
Having those pops are just some expansion on the building.
Yeah, I know, we're gonna just live with that. Jim Mulligan, you are,
Sir,
what, yes, sir.
glasses?
Oh, you want to take off your reading glasses?
Oh, yes. Excuse me. These are such a pain, I forget them when they're on. Okay, go ahead.
You are one impressive individual. I find it an incredible honor to be with you and to be hearing your story. Freedom, moral character, and integrity. 3 words that we hope form the backbone of, certainly of our nation, but most importantly of our military leaders and those who are part of the military. This project is for the military. This project is so that future military leaders can learn from your example, from the crucible of pain and suffering that you went through in Vietnam with your fellow POWs. And the ways, what makes you heroes is not that, as horrible as that what you went through is, and it breaks my heart, as I know it does every individual who hears it. As horrible as that is not what makes you heroes. What makes you heroes is how you met what happened to you. Exactly what you said in those words. So, I'm hoping to explore with you, sir, in a conversation, aspects of moral and military leadership, aspects of communication, of helping one another, of experiencing what we feel might be personal failure and turning it into success. And that's what I hear you speaking about in those words. Let's start with honor. What was the first, how did the words return with honor first come into your consciousness?
I was privileged to be with Jim Stockdale and Jerry Denton and Howie Rutledge and Harry Jenkins to be the leadership of the POW community. And collectively, we wanted to fight the good battle. For us, the war did not end because we were prisoners. We attempted to live up to the code of conduct, which we expected all those junior to us to do the same. We believed in our country We believed in what we were doing. We were, in our minds, an active continuation of the Cold War that was going on at that time throughout the world. We knew that when we would be finally released, that we should be able to look ourselves in the eye and look the American people in the eye and tell them that we lived up to what we expected them to expect of us. We didn't let down on ourselves. We didn't let down on the country, even though at many times we had anti-war people, very active, who came to Hanoi and caused immense suffering and torture by their presence. We were military men. We were professional warriors. It's our code of conduct. It's what we are raised on. We believe in the country. We believe in the Constitution. We put our lives on the line so that freedom as we know it in this United States will prevail, not just for us, for our families and our kids and our grandkids and future generations. So it was important that we really earn our own self-respect and be able to come home someday to the American people and say, we didn't let you down. We did the best we could. We believe in who we are and who you are. And if we had to do it all over again, I know each one of us would. We would be willing to pay that price, that dedication, because that's the backbone of a truly good military man. You can't be a good military man unless you know who you are and what you stand for. And you better get back to the basic principles: freedom and responsibility as good American citizens. So that's what we were thinking about collectively. And return with honor was a nice objective that we could pass to everyone who was involved in that incarceration. And it was our objective as the seniors to make sure that our juniors felt the same way, and they did. So we did come out with our heads held high. And we came back to the United States, and it was quite amazing. The Vietnam War was so divisive and so difficult on the country. Yet when we came home, it was if a great cloud had been lifted. We came home as heroes, though we were not heroic. We paid our own price, but I think in a lot of ways that the repatriation of the POWs brought a closure to the Vietnam divisiveness that prevailed in the country, because the country could see us in our faces, in our eyes, how we conducted ourselves. They knew that we didn't let them down. And an awful lot of Americans knew that they had let us down by not standing up for our own country. So we, in a lot of ways, received a lot more respect than I ever would have imagined. And as I said before, as a military man, I am proud to have served in Vietnam with all my compatriots. My feeling is that I wish the country had not been so divided, because it took a terrible price, I think, on many of those who came back years before we did, and really were, in many ways, pillaged by a lot of American citizens because they were doing the job that their country set them to do. So return with honor was an objective. We wanted to do our part. As I said, the war never ended for us. We were just in a different phase of it, from the minute we got there to the minute we came out. I guess that's all I could say about that.
The Vietnamese set about with a systematic program to humiliate each and every one of you. The amount of military intel they could gain from you was limited.
Right.
More important to them was to break your spirits, to get you to, through horrible means, to get you to give more than the requirements of the code of conduct. Once they broke you in that way, in that small way, many of your fellow POWs felt like they had failed. And it was very important for you in the leadership to find ways to help them through that moment of crisis. Because for men such as yourselves, the pride of self, the pride of country, the pride of your military service is bigger than anything. And so the Vietnamese understood that, and they went after you. How did you help junior leaders? How did you help each other recover from a feeling of failure?
Well, first of all, the good leadership never asked those below them to do something that the leaders won't do. And right from the start, all the leadership was punished severely. And we all lost. And so the philosophy that was passed on, particularly from Denton's time, the early time, through my time in early '66, we passed on to the new guys that got tortured and that got thrown out and had lost their own self-respect because they failed. And we passed on to them and said, listen, just suck it up and hold tight. Don't feel bad. We've all failed. All of us failed, okay? But that was yesterday. If they come back tomorrow, you go through it all again. You don't give them anything for nothing, okay? So we never asked anybody to do anything but their best. Some people can resist torture many more hours than others. We never said take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 2 hours or 2 weeks. We just said, listen, do the best you can. And if they come tomorrow and hit you again, do the best you can. Just don't roll over, okay? You're an American. We don't roll over that easy. That's how we handle it.
And that is one of the huge things as leaders that you did for your fellow men. Every former POW I've talked to speaks of that moment of redemption when either someone through tapping through the walls, or in the Paul Galante's case, he was with I think it was Rutledge in the truck, and he spoke to him and said those very words: "We've all failed." Now,
Yes.
This is how you pick yourself up. And that war you waged behind those walls was a wise war. It understood both human
But that's the military tradition. Good military leadership always goes first. And if you notice, the high number of COs and XOs and ops officers and senior maintenance officers and the aviation that were shot down in Vietnam, particularly in the Navy, the leadership, we lost a tremendous amount of top-notch aviators in Vietnam because they were leading, okay? They weren't back there pushing the kids, directing it from afar. They were in the thick of the fray. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's the way it was when we were in Hanoi. We stayed in the thick of the fray the entire time we were there. This culture, in a lot of ways, didn't end for us except in the very final years, okay? And, but I think that in my own mind, carrier aviation was a very challenging business, particularly in the late 40s and early 50s and early 60s before we got sophisticated. And it was a very difficult job just to get aboard a carrier at night in the rain with a pitching deck and not much to go on except your eyeballs and your own physical ability to control the airplane and follow instructions from a landing signal officer. Under those conditions, oftentimes our leaders were the guys who kept going back and going back and going back, and they always took the tough flights. They never asked somebody to take a tough night, rainy flight. The COs would always take them. And in that camaraderie of a philosophy, that prevailed in combat. Our combat guys, the COs and XOs, they were leaders. And so we lost a lot of them, okay? Okay, Air Wing Command, Stockdale and Denton and the rest of the guys,
I'm sorry, sir. They're starting up an engine right outside, and I'll miss what you're saying. So let's cut for a moment. Would you like a drink of water or anything?
No, I'm okay right now.
I'm just going to wait till they
Right.
clear this plane.
You can hear something.
Okay.